about the stems. We have Ludwigia super red. It's going to be just a few points in this area. Then we have Rotala Jiaojai. Rotala Jiaojai is going to be dark orange, quite similar to Hara. So these two will be mixed and surrounding the red color in here, and will be also a bit in here. Almost all the plants that you have in one side, you have to have it also in the other side to have balance. The only point I'm not going to do that is with the red. The red, I will place it just in here to catch the attraction in the main point. A bit of Ludwigia super red, Rotala Hialai Hara, mix it all together. Then we are going to use, we need light orange. Rotala Vietnam, once it grows, it becomes from yellow to orange. Rotala rotundifolia, almost yellow. Rotala green. And finally, Limnophila Vietnam, because Limnophila Vietnam could also work as a carpet plant. That Limnophila will not also cross to this area a bit, and we will let them cross. We will find here a bunch of Rotala green and a little of Rotala rotundifolia in here. In here, Jiaojai with Hara, rotundifolia, green, Limnophila Vietnam, to do the transition from one side and the other. And in here, rotundifolia, green, Limnophila Vietnam, and Rotala Vietnam, I have placed it. Why? Because if you see, we have used all same shape of plants with different color. So we are going to have a non-monotonous bunch of Rotalas thinking about the color, but a super monotonous bunch thinking about the shape. But all are super similar in size and shape. So I have used some Rotala Vietnam to have much thinner leaves to make a difference, a contrast. And also what the Brazilians usually do is when they are finishing their work, 3-4 weeks before doing the final photo, they add some Ludwigias, just for having different shapes and a nice mix of all that bunches. They plant all the stems, all the carpeting plants, then they fill a bit more midground, and finally they are filling much more the stem plants. First of all, what we now need is to have all the surfaces super wet. So,
do you have on the
what?
cutting? All these stem plants will need a lot of cutting.
Cutting.
Trimming, yeah.
Oh, trimming.
How
Yeah. How I do it? If I'm using immersed, first 10, 12, 2 weeks, I don't touch them. Then I cut it almost 1 or 2 fingers from the soil. All the stems, I replant it on the same areas. What happened then? That from one stem, 60% of the times, it becomes 2 new stems. After 10, 12 days, then I cut it here, not more than 1 centimeter from the first cut. Then what happens? From here, sometimes get 2 more. All the rest of the stems, I got it into the bush. What you achieve after 2 months, just in 2 months, with Rotala, super dense. When the height of the bunch is where I want it, then it's just trimming it 1 centimeter less than where I want it in the final photo.
Do you want only the soil wet or the sand as well?
Everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything should be wet. If you see it from the side, now it's just a very thin layer is wet. For planting, you have to have at least all this wet enough, and we are going to place plants as much inside as possible, like this, to avoid that the stem is going to, once it's flooded, or even during the first weeks, that the roots are still completely immature. Don't you be worried to stick it in the soil. Just let the end, well, in this case, it's super long, so it's no problem, but stick it like this inside the soil, because the plant will really soon start to grow and look for the light. We are going to start with Limnophila. So what I want is you to place this quantity here. No, from here to here, more or less. This one, this size here, and this size I will be doing here.
So you never pull out, if you cut all the way to restart the process, do you pull out the old stems that are still left? After a while they will look pretty bad underneath. You get very bushy, but once you cut you see that all almost.
You are going to see that all the back area is going to be full, completely full of plants. Now, not because now it's free for me, because this is a workshop. I promise I do it always, because as much plants as we have, as less algae problems we are going to have. The best way to battle algae is having plants. That's why I was talking to you that I never start with a very few hours of light. Just 3-4 hours. I really don't understand. I want my plants to grow as fast as possible. I start always with 6 hours of lighting period. This plant is going to be a carpeting plant that will come here. Also the other rotalas. If you trim it super short, you can do it carpeting, but it's not his usual stage. So next step, we are gonna plant rotala green. Once all the bunch is getting mature, then it's the moment to start mixing them all. If you have here the rotala green, you have here the rotala rotundifolia. Once you trim it, you have to place some stems of the rotundifolia into the green. So always from the darker to the lighter.
Dark from the sides and light inwards?
Yeah, depending, because in here we are going from light to dark. Sometimes I go from dark in the light to light. But in here, my idea is to have here the darker colors, and here also not as dark, but also darker colors. So we are going from light to dark. Usually, if you want to fix the eyes of the viewer into the vanishing point, you can use a dark orange or even a red at the vanishing, that people will go directly to there. Okay, but I want to fix people here first of all, and then discover the cave. That's why I'm not using red color in here. You see, and also if I use rotalas in here, it's not going to be as deep feeling.
How many pots of the Super Red are you starting with in this stack?
Super Red is just 2 pots, just like this. In the future, I want this. I want Jason to let them grow until here. This will be more or less what I want to see, but also be careful with Ludwigia, because the leaves are super large. So usually I started from the lighter till the more dark, but now after your question, you will understand where I want the red color. And now we are going to continue with Rotala rotundifolia. Rotalas. No, not at all. I use a lot of rotalas. They help me a lot. I am so thankful of them. Some people has plant that it's they love one species. I love them all, and I have some tanks that the one that got third into the KIAC, the Korean contest, 2 years ago. In there, I used many plants I've never used it before, and I am really interested in that. It's a good idea at the beginning of a tank, to avoid the problems with the nutrients. So it's not a bad idea. Many people does it at the beginning. They plant ambulias. It's they grow like crazy, and they eat a lot. As I told you, Rotala Vietnam will completely change their phenotype, well, as the rotundifolias, and it will become super thin and all yellow, between yellow and a bit of orange, even a bit of pink, I will say. And it gives a nice coloration, different shape, so it avoids to have monotony. And after Vietnam, we are going to use the last two, the Yaojai and the HRA. Usually HRA, sometimes it gets super red. It depends on light intensity and where it's placed. You know, sometimes with the red felt, HRA can go from a nice medium orange color to a super dark red color. It's going to be in between the darkest orange colors. So I usually mix them, HRA and Hyalai. Some people said that you must plant stem by stem. I go 2 or 3 stems, and I had never any problem. And for the workshop, I'm placing 4. A bit in here, yep. And I will place these ones in here. Yep. And we have finished our future vases of rotala. Please, could you please tell me which kind of fish it will fish in here? A salmon. Well, we are in Norway, so I have to say yes, of course. Is this a panoramic or a closed view tank? It's more panoramic than closed view, right? So fishes should be small. Do they use monographic or multi-species tanks on their contest tanks? Usually, almost all of them, they do schooling, all schooling tetras, but they mix many of them. For me, in here, there is a fish that will shine a lot on such huge shadows that we will have into the middle area, because it's a fish that will, it's important when we are selecting fishes, many things. First of all is for sure size. Super important is shape, if they are thin and large or they are more round. Very important for sure is the color it has. And 2 things that are even more important is their behavior, if they are schooling guys or not, and where they are swimming usually. Because if you have like the blue eye killifish, they will go all over here, right? The Chinese neon, they will go over here. We will feel that we were flying right into the mountains. This is not what we want. We need species that will swim in this area. To finish this, we are going to place some Eleocharis. This is Eriocaulon. It's a plant that we use it a lot in this kind of tanks. But usually I love Blixa japonica. It's an amazing plant. It was not possible to take it, and with Erios, it's quite similar. These Erios will grow a bit less than Blixa, but it's also a great plant to do a transition from the carpeting plants to the stem plants. You are seeing, I like to place same species that I have in one side. I have to have it in the other side. Maybe not the same amount. Eleocharis minima and Eleocharis parvula. Why parvula? Because parvula in here will grow a bit taller. The difference with Eleocharis is that with Eleocharis acicularis is that high, and it's very tall, and parvula is this height, a bit less, but it goes and goes like this. So we are going to place in here some parvula, and at the end some mini. We are going to plant Staurogyne repens in these areas, in the midground area. Staurogyne is going to be much more powerful than Erio, so we have to take a bit of care of that, not to make Erio disappear.
But after a while they will mix together, and then after a while there again one of the species will be more.
But this is what we want. For sure, Staurogyne will be the winner of that battle. Yeah. But we have to try to. It's a Glossostigma is always winning Cuba. It's also always winning Eleocharis. It's always winning almost all the carpeting plants. Glosso is the most powerful. When I'm using Glosso, I just want Glosso in some areas. I'm removing continuously Glossostigma, you know. So you can do it this way. So now you see that we are starting to see a planted tank instead of a skeleton, a hardscape. Now it's much, much, much nicer than it was 10 minutes ago. This little quantity of gel is not a problem at all.
But that's
If
not
you
much, but if you see on the like towel or
yeah, maybe in others, if it's too much gel, for sure, you have to remove it. But please, do not take your plant, place it in the tap water, and then place it in the tank. Because many times the tap water is really cold, you are going to shock the plant, and maybe you are going to make it die. It's going to melt. So if you are using in vitro plants, please just remove the gel, but don't get crazy about that gel. That gel is not a problem at all. Please do not plant it with all the gel, for sure. But don't be so worried about that. If you see, I'm placing all the midground plants on both sides, because in here we are going to place carpeting plants. Okay? So there's a way to create perspective with plants. In some of my tanks, when I place rotala, you know, but rotala all has the same shape. You can play with those rotalas that are thinner, like rotala Vietnam, like rotala Nanjing San, like rotala Bolichi. You all know what I'm talking about? So you can place all those rotalas at the end, and then the rotundifolia species closer to the front. It's a way to create also perspective with the shape of the leaves. Another way is just with the trimming. If you use just all rotundifolias, you can have a tip is the rotundifolias in here, I want them very, very little shape. The rotalas in here, I want it bigger shape. Why? Because this is closer to the bio to my bio, this is far away. So how to do that perspective? Thinking about a photo for a contest. Easy. You have to know which is the growth rate of your buses. Once you know it, you have to trim maybe this area 12 or 14 days before the photo. Then the leaves will be bigger. This area maybe 8 or 9 days before the photo, and this area maybe just 4 or 5 days before the photo. Then you have all rotundifolias, same species, different color, and different shape, size. That's important to create perspective. Another way, different species, similar shapes, similar colors, but different size. Example, Monte Carlo and Cuba. I could place here some Monte Carlo and here Cuba. Feeling is going to be very similar, but always these plants will look a bit bigger than Cuba, right? It's another way of creating perspective. And now we are going to start with the carpeting. We have Cuba, we have Eleocharis mini, we have Glosso, and we have Marsilea hirsuta. Okay, just place it them all together, and for sure don't place it here. Place it over here, they will grow a bit, but let some sand in this area. What I'm going to do is to place Glosso and Marsilea on this area, and Eleocharis mini and Cuba in this area. In here we'll start some Glosso and Marsilea, and then it will go some mixing also with Eleocharis that will come over here, but we will try to keep those plants here and those others in there. Now that we are closer friends, next time I will ask you for 100 without any problem.
Like I said, balance style.
But I really think it's the smartest way to do it. I know it's you need a big amount of money, but once you have spent a nice quantity of money in your lighting, in your tank, in your glass, in good filters, in wherever, I really think the best way is to start with very strong planting. And this is the kind of tanks that I am sure it will look much, much, much nicer. after 2 or 3 months of growing than now. Yes, at the end, no, in here. This is, and also in here, yeah, sure, both. First day stems and this kind of midgrounds, okay, but I never place at the beginning usually bucephalandras, even not cryptocorynes or anubias. I let them get the tank mature, and maybe after 6 weeks or so on is when I place them. And as I told you, the Ludwigias and so on, I place it maybe just 5 weeks before the end of the photo. So it depends on the tank. Sometimes are all full from the beginning. For a workshop tank like this, it's better to place it all. You know, it's gonna shine and look much nicer. But for a contest tank that you have time to grow it, sometimes you can have some problems with cryptos at the beginning, or even with buces. So you can start without them, because also other plants that will be attacked by the algae more easily at the beginning. So Anubia will resist better than buces that will suffer a lot. And if they suffer because of their very low rate growth speed, until they get nice, it's gonna spend like 5 months to get nice for a photo. So sometimes I have just 3 months and a half. So for me, it's really important that they have no melting on those spaces. If I have melt, I remove them. I never let them if they are not nice enough. We are almost finishing. If you see, the only area where we have a big shady, it's in here. Yeah. And I'm gonna place some buces there at the end. All the rest is a bright, simple Brazilian style tank. So the only area where is shady is here. If I have to do a photo where I want my fishes, if possible, from here to here, then they will shine. This is the size that I usually place in my tanks. And the Bucephalanda species that I have chosen for this tank is a bit big. I usually never trim Bucephalandra. Why? Because I place them thinking about the shape of their leaves. I want Eleocharis mini and Cuba going from here to here. I want some Glosso and Marsilea here and here, and we finished. Okay. Oh yeah, you cannot see now the effect of the Eleocharis for sure, because it's not growing. But I wish now you could start coming and take a look as close as possible, because now it's almost finished. So it's important to remind that every plant should be placed in the right place for them to grow and to have the effect that we want, right? So in Brazilian style, it's really easy. Carpeting in the foreground, midground plants like Staurogyne repens, Erios, Blixa japonica, and so on. Think about carpeting bigger size and less big size for the first and the second layer, and at the end, almost stem plants. Let's say we have a first layer of sand, a second layer with these stones, a third layer that be almost the path that comes here and all the plants in here, a fourth layer, fifth in here, and sixth in here. So we have achieved 6 layers of, and we have at least a nice perspective. The roots of Anubias or Buthas should not get into the soil. If they have nutrient, they are going to grow bigger. But if it's not, it works. Once it's flooded, it's going to look quite elegant. And once everything is growing, we will see nice and different shapes, nice and different colors. So I think it's, as I told with the Iwagumi, it's a nice tank for a shop. So if you have, Jason, all of the styles into this gallery that is completely possible, your gallery will shine. I think that's it. I want you to thank you so much for the hard work you have done. She prepared me all the traces perfectly. It's the first, not the first, Green Aqua here, where the workshop for me was super comfortable because everyone was prepared. So thank you so much. And Maya, thank you so much for your hard work, for helping me. It has been also a huge pleasure. Thank you. And thanks all for being here for so long time. Thanks.